Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about normalization adjustments. This is done in order to arrive at the terminal value. In the final year of the non-constant growth phase, we have to adjust the free cash flow to transition to the constant growth phase. Let us start by reviewing the previous case. I have presented this case in the corporate valuation model. Assume that today is December 31, 2019, and that the following information applies to Nevada Rails. We were tasked to calculate the true value of the stock as of today. Note what I assumed in the last year of the non-constant growth phase. That's year 2022. I have assumed that depreciation and capital expenditures are the same, 10 million pesos. I did this because I was playing safe, considering that this cash flow will be the basis for perpetual cash flows. That is, the cash flows to be generated until forever. This video will be all about the calculation of the free cash flows to the firm on the year after the final year of the non-constant growth phase. This is for the purpose of calculating the terminal value. Let us start with the usual free cash flow calculation. Terminal year free cash flow. We will begin with EBIT times 1 minus tax rate of that terminal year plus the depreciation and amortization expense of that same year. Collectively, we call these two items EBITDA, earnings before interest and taxes, and depreciation and amortization, EBITDA. Then we have to deduct the capital expenditures for that same year and deduct the increase in the non-cash net working capital of that same year. This would give us the free cash flows to the firm in the terminal year. When we want to arrive at the free cash flows for the year to follow, we simply multiply the free cash flows to the firm on this year by 1 plus the growth rate. However, this ignores certain complexities that are inherent in the calculation. The aim of this calculation that we are going to make is to remove the irregularities present in such calculation. So, when we arrive at the free cash flows to the firm at the terminal year plus 1, that is the year after the terminal year, we have to do the following. As usual, we're going to begin with earnings before interest and taxes multiplied by 1 minus T of the previous year and multiply this by 1 plus the constant growth rate. Add the depreciation and amortization expense of the terminal year times 1 plus G, or the constant growth rate. Again, collectively, we call this to EBITDA. So far, there's nothing different in arriving at these items, but observe the following. As for your capital expenditure, we have to equate this to the depreciation and amortization expense of the year after the terminal year. Why are we going to do this? We have to take note that in the long run, depreciation and amortization expenses will converge with the capital expenditure. In other words, whatever will be invested in the years to come, that will also be the depreciation and amortization expenses in the years to come. In the long run, they would be the same. Considering we are going to use this cash flow, that of the terminal year plus 1, as a representative of the future cash flows until forever, what we are going to do, again, is to equate capital expenditures to the depreciation and amortization expense. Next, we are going to talk about the increase in net working capital. As for net working capital, rather than using the increase in the prior year's net working capital as the basis for future increases, we would assume that the working capital balance will grow modestly by the growth rate G. That is, if we're going to assume a growth in net working capital, we're just going to multiply the net working capital balance times the growth rate. We are going to sum up these items, and there we go. We would arrive at the free cash flows to the firm at terminal year plus 1. That is, again, the year after the terminal year. These free cash flows to the firm at T plus 1 will be our basis for the terminal value calculation. Take note that we have made these normalization adjustments in order to make it more representative of what the typical free cash flows to the firm would look like after the non-constant growth phase. Furthermore, just an extra item, if we want to have a reliable balance of the net working capital, especially in the terminal year, the working capital ending balance, we can arrive at such by dividing the net working capital balance over EBITDA in the typical years in the non-constant growth phase, multiply this by the EBITDA at the terminal year. And there you go. That is how you would arrive at the net working capital balance. In the next video, we are going to talk about the certainty equivalent approach in discounted cash flow method. As always, yay! Like, share, and subscribe.